The story begins in 180 AD when Roman general Maximus Decimus Meridius leads his legions to victory against Germanic tribes in a brutal winter campaign along the Danube frontier. He is a skilled warrior who commands respect through both his tactical brilliance and his willingness to fight alongside his men. Using the Roman testudo formation that made Rome's army unstoppable, Emperor Marcus Aurelius, old and dying from the plague that ravaged Rome, summons Maximus to his tent with a momentous request. The emperor wishes Maximus to become protector of Rome and return power to the Senate, bypassing his own son Commodus because he sees madness in the prince's eyes. Commodus learns of his father's intentions during a private conversation, where Marcus Aurelius speaks of disappointment. Overcome with rage and rejection, he suffocates Marcus Aurelius with an embrace that appears loving, but is actually patricide, killing the last of the 5 good emperors. The new emperor orders Maximus arrested and executed along with his family in Spain, sending the Praetorian Guard to ensure no one survives. Maximus kills his captors, using their own swords in a forest ambush, then rides desperately toward his home in Trujillo. Covering hundreds of miles while bleeding, he finds their charred bodies hanging from posts, victims who were burned alive as examples to anyone who might resist imperial authority, collapsing from wounds and grief beside their graves. Maximus is discovered by slave traders who recognize valuable merchandise in his muscular frame and battle scars. They sell him to Proximo, a former gladiator who earned his freedom under Marcus Aurelius and now owns a fighting school in Sucabar. Proximo bears the wooden sword called a rudis that signifies his liberation, and he sees something dangerous in the broken general's eyes. Maximus refuses to fight at first, standing motionless in the arena while opponents circle him with weapons drawn. When forced into combat, Maximus unleashes devastating abilities honed through 20 years of military campaigns, killing multiple opponents using techniques from Roman military training. His fame grows rapidly as he defeats every challenger in provincial games. Using unconventional tactics like throwing sand and weapons, Proximo sees opportunity and takes his gladiators to Rome, where the emperor is hosting 150 days of games to distract citizens from rising grain prices. In the Colosseum, the largest amphitheater ever built that held 50,000 screaming Romans, Maximus and his fellow gladiators are forced to reenact the Battle of Carthage. Against all expectations, the gladiators defeat the chariot-mounted imperial guards through coordinated tactics, with Maximus commanding them like legionaries rather than slaves. The crowd erupts in adulation as Commodus descends to meet this mysterious Spaniard, who fights like Mars himself. When Maximus removes his helmet and reveals his identity by speaking his full name and titles, the emperor is shocked to face the general he believed dead. Commodus cannot kill Maximus publicly because the crowds adore him, and his sister Lucilla warns against making a martyr of Rome's greatest general. The emperor becomes obsessed with destroying Maximus through the games, sending Rome's finest gladiators and exotic beasts purchased from Africa at enormous expense. Maximus survives every challenge, including a brutal encounter with Bengal tigers, where he uses sand to blind them and his sword to strike at their throats. His legend grows with each victory, and the people of Rome begin chanting his name above the emperor's, seeing in him the virtue their ruler lacks. Lucilla secretly visits Maximus in the gladiator barracks beneath the Colosseum, revealing she still loves him from years past when they were young. She becomes part of a conspiracy, with Senator Gracchus to overthrow Commodus and reinstate the Senate's authority. Planning to use Maximus's loyal legions stationed in Ostia, Maximus agrees to escape through the underground tunnels and rally his former soldiers, who remain loyal to him and Marcus Aurelius's memory. However, Commodus has spies everywhere, including among the gladiators, and the plot is discovered before Maximus can reach the city gates. The emperor orders the conspirators arrested and Senator Gracchus imprisoned, taking Lucilla's young son Lucius hostage to ensure her complete compliance. Commodus visits Maximus in his cell beneath the arena, monologuing about his jealousy and deciding to fight him personally to prove he is the better man. Before the final combat, Commodus stabs Maximus between the ribs with a hidden dagger and has the wound concealed under armor by guards. The emperor wants assurance of victory while maintaining the appearance of honorable single combat before the masses and the Senate watching from the imperial box. In the Colosseum filled with Rome's elite and common citizens, Maximus enters bleeding internally and weakened, but still dangerous like a wounded lion. The fight begins with Commodus confident in his treachery, using formal gladiatorial techniques, but Maximus's superior combat experience overcomes even his severe injury. As they battle across the sand where thousands died for entertainment, Maximus disarms Commodus with a move that breaks the emperor's wrist. The emperor calls for a sword from his Praetorian guards, but Quintus refuses the order. Having witnessed the general's honor and recognizing true leadership, Maximus drives his blade into Commodus's throat, fulfilling Marcus Aurelius's dying wish for Rome's salvation. As the emperor dies choking on blood, Maximus collapses from internal bleeding, his strength finally failing as his punctured lung fills and his vision darkens. In his final moments, Maximus hallucinates walking through golden wheat fields toward his Spanish home. Under endless blue sky, he sees his wife and son waiting at the gates of his farm, their forms solid and smiling. Finally reunited in the afterlife Romans called the Elysian Fields, he whispers instructions to Lucilla to honor her father's vision, free the gladiators, and reinstate Senator Gracchus to power. Senator Gracchus orders Maximus carried from the arena, with the honor due to a fallen hero, his body draped in white cloth reserved for the virtuous dead. The gladiators including Juba and Hagen watch as their champion is taken away with reverence. While guards salute, Juba buries Maximus's figurines of his wife and son in the Colosseum sand where their protector fell, honoring his memory in the place of his greatest triumph. Rome begins its transformation back toward the republic Marcus Aurelius envisioned. Though the Senate's power would remain limited under future emperors, the historical Commodus actually ruled for 12 years after Marcus Aurelius's death, not mere months as portrayed, and was eventually strangled by a wrestler named Narcissus. Marcus Aurelius likely died of natural causes from the Antonini plague rather than murder, and he actually made Commodus co-emperor years before his death. The philosophical emperor's meditations reveal a man who loved his son despite flaws, making the historical reality more tragic than the cinematic version. Gladiatorial combat was indeed as brutal as depicted, with fighters classified by weapon type including murmillo, thraex, retiarius, and secutor. Successful gladiators could become celebrities wealthier than senators, with women leaving love notes and men betting fortunes, though most died young in the sand. The Colosseum's underground hypogeum contained elevators and tunnels for special effects during games, allowing animals and fighters to appear suddenly through trapdoors. Naval battles called naumachia were staged in flooded arenas, demonstrating Rome's engineering mastery and appetite for spectacular violence that consumed the empire's resources. Maximus represents the ideal of Roman virtue called dignitas and virtues, that the Republic valued above all else. His fictional story captures the real tension between military honor and political corruption that plagued Rome's transition from republic to empire across centuries. The gladiatorial salute was actually only recorded once in history, not a common practice as popular culture suggests. Most gladiators were professionals who expected to survive their bouts, with death rates around 10 to 20% per fight rather than certain mortality. Commodus did actually fight as a gladiator in the arena, though he faced only disabled opponents and animals he could safely kill. The Senate was forced to applaud his performances, while he charged Rome 1 million sesterces per appearance, bankrupting the treasury for his ego. The film's emotional power comes from Maximus embodying virtues Rome claimed to cherish, but often betrayed in practice. His journey from general to slave to legend mirrors Rome's own arc from republic to tyranny, suggesting individual honor matters more than imperial power. Maximus's story resonates because it speaks to the eternal struggle between integrity and corruption that defines every civilization throughout history. His willingness to sacrifice everything for principle rather than survival makes him heroic in ways that transcend his fictional nature and ancient setting. The wheat field imagery represents the Roman ideal of returning to simple agricultural life after military service, as exemplified by Cincinnatus. This legendary farmer who became dictator then returned to his plow embodied the ideal that Maximus's character invokes through his dream of home. Gladiator is not truly about historical accuracy, but about myth-making in the Roman tradition of defining cultural values through storytelling. Like the legends of Romulus and Horatius that Romans told themselves, Maximus's story creates modern mythology exploring timeless questions about power, honor, and sacrifice.